Well, now we've come to a piece that I wanted to share with you. It absolutely stunned me this morning when I saw it change the whole direction of our broadcast this morning. Did you know that the senators and congresspeople, for the most part, do not keep the same names when they get married? So then it's very hard to determine who is married to who simply by looking at their names. Well, why is this important? It turns out that a number of the people that are congressmen own office buildings. The spouses own office buildings. Oh, okay, what's going on here? Well, first, my question would be, well, how did they come up with the money to buy the office building, first of all? And secondly, how was the rent negotiated? And thirdly, what is the order of priorities? I mean, what happens when this office space is no longer needed? You can't cut off somebody's income, can you? Goodness, let's watch and see what happens. Look, we have peeled back a layer of the onion I don't think they wanted us to see. The office space is being owned by the politicians themselves. Watch.
Mr. Hart, do any members of Congress, their spouses, or their immediate family have any property ownership rights to this property or any federal land?
Congressman, I don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
Okay, do spouses of members of Congress own real property and lease it to the federal government? And how would we find that out? Because I think I know what you're going to say.
I believe the answer to that question is yes.
You do?
I do believe that.
Was there any way we could verify that information?
Well, you go to USA Spending and search, you open the books, our website, and you can look up members' names, you can look up any person's name, and find that information.
All right. I suspect that's being done as I speak. How much would the federal government save by allowing unneeded leases to expire?
The federal government spends about $6 billion on leased office space, so depending on how many you let expire, you get substantial savings.
$6 billion. Let's draw some reality to this. A billion seconds ago is 1959. A billion minutes ago, Jesus walked the earth. And a billion hours ago, nothing two-legged walked the earth. A billion's a lot of money, and it's being yanked out the door the other side from our tax money. And they're going to actually drain the entire economy of all lifeblood left, of all purchasing power, simply to keep their lifestyle going just a couple more days longer. This is the easiest person to arrest of all his crimes against children on film. How long would it take the FBI to get this bugger in chains? Time to phase out Podesta. John Podesta has been arrested, folks, and this was one of the markers in the Q drops you've been following along.
Yep, it's a big deal. Thank you very much. Great job you're doing.
Thank you, sir. Thanks to your leadership and setting the mandate of transparency and accountability across the U.S. government, I'm bringing that transparency and accountability to the intelligence community. First and foremost, to make sure that you and your cabinet have that real-time, relevant, apolitical, objective intelligence to best inform, whether it's negotiations for peace, negotiations around tariffs, the great work that you are leading around the cabinet today. Secondly, working with Department of Homeland Security and the FBI to increase our information sharing to achieve your goal of countering the narcotic trafficking and our ability to go after cartels now designated as foreign terrorists. I met with the National Sheriff's Association this week, being able to work to make sure that the information that they are getting on the ground, that local law enforcement is getting on the ground, is being fed back up through to our National Counterterrorism Center, and that we have all of the federal agencies, state and local law enforcement, all on the same page as we are working to make our country safe again. And lastly, sir, as you know, declassification and rooting out weaponization, politicization of the intelligence community is a huge priority. You know more than anyone else the very dangerous and negative consequences of that. I've got a long list of things that we're investigating. We have the best of the best going after this. Election integrity being one of them. We have evidence of how these electronic voting systems have been vulnerable to hackers for a very long time and vulnerable to exploitation to manipulate the results of the votes being cast, which further drives forward your mandate to bring about paper ballots across the country so that voters can have faith in the integrity of our elections. And lastly, we've been scanning. I've had over 100 people working around the clock to scan the paper around RFK, Senator Robert F. Kennedy's assassination, as well as Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination. These have been sitting in boxes in storage for decades. They have never been scanned or seen before. We'll have those ready to release here within the next few days.
Elon Musk Doge discovers millions in taxpayer dollars wasted on unemployment claims for fake people. Goodness. I think we just shut the whole system down, don't you? Department of Government Efficiency, an initial survey of unemployed insurance claims since 2020 revealed the following: 24,500 people over 115 years of age claimed $59 million in benefits. I wasn't one of them. 28,000 people between 1 and 5 years old claims $254 million in benefits. That's fraud, folks. 9,700 people with birth dates over 15 years in the future claim $69 million in benefits. It's a big joke, folks. Do you see this? It's one big joke. In one case, someone with a birthday in 2154, the year 2154, claimed $41,000 in benefits. How do you do that? Let's find out.
Then accountability matters. That's what we're recognizing. With our partners at the Department of Labor for Government Efficiency, just a few weeks ago, we realized there's about $4.4 billion in COVID funds that were not used, that the state coffers were just holding on to. Out of that, we've returned $1.4 billion back to the state treasury, so essentially to the American people, and we'll go back and claw the rest of those billions of dollars back. And on the heels of that, late last night, we're understanding unemployment insurance fraud. That trust needs to be whole for the American people. When we need it for who deserves it. That's not what we're seeing. And the numbers that we saw last night, again, exposed by our partners at Doge, at the Department of Labor. Since 2020, over $400 million of payments have gone out already. And when you hear these numbers, apparently in the United States, we have over almost 25,000 people who are over 115 years old who are collecting $59 million that we have sent out to people. Talk about fraudulent behavior. Mr. President, 28,000 people between 1 and 5 years old have collected fraudulent payments at the tune of $254 million has gone out. And lastly, 10,000 people who have not been born yet, 15 years into the future, $69 million, and they haven't even been born yet. In one case, they will be born 129 years from now. The United States government sent them $41,000, and they're not born yet. So, under the Department of Labor, those are the things that we're uncovering. I couldn't be more honored to tell the American people that we're bringing back their dollars, and we're saving them and returning them to the United States Treasury. Also, jobs numbers. Last Friday, 228,000 new jobs were reported. That is good for the American people. That is my primary job, is to grow that workforce under your leadership. So we've kicked off the America at Work tour, and we'll be visiting all 50 states, and I'll be working with my colleagues here to do just that. So thank you, Mr. President. We're going to grow this economy. We're going to keep our focus on the American worker.
So you're finding tremendous fraud, though. Those numbers are really bad when you...
Very hard decision by President Trump, and this is how it's going to go. They are going to identify trillions with a T, trillions of dollars of stolen, fraudulent money. Gone. Treasury, $4.7 trillion, can't be accounted for. Where did it go? People didn't come into to back up their trucks at the Treasury and load it up full of bundles of money, cash. No, they're electronic transfers. And they were going to try to hide them, but those geeks are going to find it. And then in about 60 to 90 days, there's going to be a confirmed web of where the money went, who sent that money, where's the contracts. Contracts don't exist, and who's the recipients. And it's going to be laid out just like I did in law enforcement. Here's the crime, here's the evidence, here's who committed the crime, and here is who benefits from the crime. And it's going to be laid out in black and white, and then Donald Trump is going to have a very, very difficult decision to make. And that decision is he going to arrest them? It really is. It's a simple question that has to be answered, and only Donald Trump is going to be able to answer it. My money is that he will do the right thing because he has no other choice.
Let's think about this statement I'm going to make here. Power without accountability and justice is simply theft, isn't it? You have to be accountable. And if you're trusted with power, it's because somebody trusted you. And you can abuse that power, but typically once burned, twice shy. Another term I'd like to be familiar with is called cui bono, Q-U-I bono. And basically it's a Latin phrase that means who benefits. You'll find out who is mostly at fault or who perpetrated or who's responsible for any of these crimes that are committed when you simply ask yourself, cui bono, who benefited? Who got the money out of the deal?
Take your children out to school. I'm a former educator of 24 years. They stopped teaching them years ago. You just didn't know.
Yes, that's true.
You just didn't know. Education went to hell years ago. They taught them compliance. They stopped teaching them to think. Analytical thought went out the window with state exams. Those state exams are just being used to track your children, to determine who's going to college, to train them, to support this God-forsaken system, all the rest that's going elsewhere. They have pushed us into prisons. I don't care how you look at it. If you're in corporate America, you're imprisoned by your lifestyle. If you're in the government, you're imprisoned by your job with good benefits. You understand? If you are on subsidy, you're imprisoned by their benefits. We have to get out their system, pull yourself out, pull your dollars out, and level it.
Well, I'm an architect of 20 years, a member of the American Institute of Architects, and have been studying steel-framed, fireproof buildings for about that long.
We ask that for clarification because as we get into this, we want people to make sure that you're not just somebody with a wacky idea.
Right.
Okay, you come with some science to you. What is the official reason for the collapse of the World Trade Center towers?
Well, we're told that the planes hit the buildings and there was an explosion and a fire, and about an hour and a half later, in the case of the North Tower, the buildings collapsed due to structural weakening due to the fires. Mm-hmm. The problem is that we don't have large gradual deformations associated with collapses, and fires in high-rises have never brought down a steel frame high-rise building at all, ever. And what we have, unfortunately, is the evidence in the Twin Towers and the third skyscraper to collapse that day, which most people don't know anything about it. We have the evidence of the 10 key features of controlled demolition. In the case of Building 7, it collapses straight down into its own footprint at free fall speed in the first 100 feet. It's dropping, as you can see, symmetrically, smoothly, at free fall speed in the first 100 feet, 2.5 seconds. This is uncanny. There's 40,000 tons of structural steel designed to resist this collapse.
So what, a 47-story building?
Yeah, this is called Building 7, right? A football field away from the Twin Towers. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what we're showing is left what happened. In fact, right is a controlled where you are using, or the people who made this happen, used demolition.
Indeed, and this is a direct comparison. And you can see that, indeed, almost free fall speed, free fall acceleration through 40,000 tons of structural steel. That is uncanny. So we have 700 architects and engineers demanding a new investigation as a result of this evidence and the evidence in the World Trade Center that is very explosive. Almost every architect and engineer we show this information to agrees with us that these are controlled demolitions. If we can get them to look at the information, because obviously the implications of a controlled demolition are dark for our country, because that means somebody besides Al-Qaeda was involved, because these have to be easily 3 of the most highly secure buildings.